coming up next.
And so he said, hey, I'm giving you grace. Give yourself grace. You messed up. You made a mistake, and turn back around. And that's the awesome thing about God, is he is never far. He's right beside us at all times. And it's not like we have to walk far to get him. We just have to turn the other direction. And so if I am turning to the donuts or whatever that thing is and saying, okay, this is where I'm getting my comfort, I just literally have to almost physically sometimes turn around and say, okay, Lord, thank you for your grace. Help me to stop this compulsive bite, well, or binge, whatever it has turned into. And I'm going to move in that direction. So he gave me the gift of grace and understanding who I am in him.
Welcome to Faith Over Addiction podcast, where the chains of fixing and striving are broken and joy is rediscovered in Christ. You are here because you know there's more for you, a life beyond addiction's chaos, rooted in God's peace and promises. This is the place where Christian women like you learn to release the weight of fixing and striving and instead lean into God's strength to create a home filled with love, grace, and hope. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Proverbs 31:25. That's you. You may not feel like it yet, but you are stronger than you know. And God has so much more for you than carrying someone else's addiction. Here, we'll uncover how to set healthy boundaries with love and a little humor. Find resilience and grace in the messy moments of life. Celebrate small victories and embrace joy like never before. Lean into God's promises for restoration and strength, because he's not done with your story or your loved ones. This is your invitation to rise up, embrace your worth in God's kingdom, and take back what's been stolen by addiction: your peace, your joy, your future. Your faith is the foundation, and your boundaries are the bridge, and God's truth is your guide. I'm Tanya Joya, your host and fellow traveler on this journey through the chaos of addiction. I'm here to cheer you on, equip you with tools that work, and share the truth that's changed my life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Together, we'll uncover how to create safe, loving space for healing, starting with your own heart and home. By setting boundaries, trusting God's plan, and embracing his truth, you can reclaim your joy, your peace, and your family's future. Then you will be able to stand firm for your family and legacy as a kingdom daughter, a woman who can laugh at the days to come, knowing her identity is secure in Christ. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and get comfortable. Let's walk this journey together. We're about to take back what's been stolen, create a safe, healing space for you and your family, and rediscover the joy God has waiting for you. Well, welcome to Faith Over Addiction, where we are helping women find their identity in Christ and go to the source instead of a resource. And one of my favorite topics, as y'all know, we've got several podcasts about them, and we will list it down below, is this battle with food. So I have Kristy McCammon. I got it wrong again.
You did it right. You did it right.
Kristy McCammon, who is here to talk about unbinged. And if you are like me, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt that goes with this. But when we look to Christ for our true identity, it changes everything. So Kristy, give us a little bit of background on you and how you got to this point.
Awesome. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Yes, I agree. Everything changed when I started looking to Christ for my identity. I looked for years for my identity in what the world says to. How do you look? What do you weigh? What size do you wear? How big is your waist? How big is your chest? Like all of these things that the world says, which, let's be clear, are moving targets, because it changes. The size of your rear end, in the 70s is way different than, maybe what people want it to look like in the 2000s. And then 2020, it could be different. So it's a moving target we will never, ever achieve. And so if we keep our eyes fixed on Christ, then our identity is in him. And we are start to surrender the number on the scale, the size of our pants, and all of those things. So I struggled with all of that for years: body image, weight struggles, food addiction, eating too much, overeating, binging, trying to starve myself alternatively to figure out how to lose weight for the bulk of my life. And about 7 years ago, I realized I was totally desperate. I was at a spot of desperation where I said, okay, Lord, I don't know what to do. I'm striving for all of these worldly things. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to be happy with myself, and none of it's working. And so, after this desperate prayer, he led me to a food plan of eliminating processed foods, but kind of setting up some beautiful boundaries for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And with those boundaries, not being in a place to idolize the boundaries, but put him back in the high place. And by doing that, I had him in the high place, then my food boundaries, and then I could start walking through the challenges of why I was overeating in the first place and getting to the heart of the matter and the root, and pulling things up by the root, which can be hard. And there's a grieving process, but totally worth it.
Let's get down in those roots right now. So it sounds like you've been a Christian most of
Yeah.
your life.
Yep. Since I was
Eh,
about 4 or 5, I
There
accepted
you go.
the Lord, accepted Jesus right in my little Sunday school class.
Amen. And that's the audience we're talking to. So what put food in front of God?
When I was a little girl, just some stressors and home life challenges caused me to use food for comfort. It was my friend, and it served its purpose in my life at that time. And at some point, unfortunately, even after when I had accepted Jesus, I still had, I mean, because I was little and I
Yeah.
was learning that when I was eating, I was safe. We were in a safe place. If I was sitting with food, I was safe. And that completely got woven into the fabric of my being. And even though I loved Jesus with every part of me as a little girl, as a teenager, as a 20-year-old, as a 40-year-old, I still had this love for using food as comfort. I used and abused it. And I
Mm,
felt like, okay, Lord, I've given you every part of my life, the best of my ability. Can I just please have these cookies? Can I please just have this?
yes.
And at some point, he wanted me to say, I'm willing to give up whatever it is I have to give up for you. And ultimately, my life is so much better for it. But I was holding on to this area of my life. Like, I don't want to turn this over to the Lord. He might ask me to stop eating, you know, cookies or something, whatever it was. I just didn't want to do it. And
Yeah.
when I was desperate, my weight was increasing, my food intake was increasing. I didn't have a choice. It was, I'm desperate, Lord. I love my family. I have 5 kids. I have an amazing husband. And I did not want to cut my life short on my account. Obviously, our days are numbered. I can't control any of that, but I can control, you know, um, doing poor things to my body that could ultimately shave years off my life. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm done doing that because I love my family so much. I want to see all my kids graduate and walk down the aisle and all of that. And who am I to be harming myself? I'm literally self harming myself by eating the abundant amount of processed food, sugar, flour, anything, right? The extreme amount of food. And I didn't want to do that anymore. But on my own, I couldn't. I didn't have the willpower. And that's where I had to lift up my hands and say, okay, I surrender, Lord. What do I do?
Can I go back to there's two places. I want to go back to food as safe
Yep.
first. So oftentimes I think in this country where there is abundance, where for most of us there isn't a fear for our lives on a daily basis.
Right. Right.
What what kind of safety were you finding in food? What were you trying to be safe from?
So I had a pretty tumultuous childhood and home life. And so when things would go on, we would find ourselves sitting in a restaurant or at a place or at a person's house and eating food. And that just meant that I was out of the situation for the time being. And so
Mhm.
food was just, if I was sitting safely eating food, then I was safe. It was kind of like this refuge place.
Mm-hmm.
And that would happen enough times to where my brain says, okay, if you're eating, you're safe. It's calm. It's okay. I've got you. Like it was my comfort,
Mm-hmm.
which makes me sad for that little girl because she should have never had to use food for comfort. But to be honest with you, it's happening all over every
Mm-hmm.
single day for kids, whether they have a great home life or not. Food is just becoming, it's very addictive. We know that food manufacturers make it addictive, number one. Number two, it's just there's no off time to eat. It's totally
Mm.
acceptable in America, and I'm not sure about everywhere else, but in America, it's totally acceptable to eat all day long.
Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, play date, after school, here, there, during class, after, it doesn't matter. There's no off time. And so we're just building this food is good, we need food, food is our comfort. And I find that so sad for kids because it gets woven so deeply, it's really hard to break later. So for me, even when I was safe, even when I moved out, I married my husband, we had a great life, great family, a very safe home, I still would find myself alone reaching for food because I thought, okay, I just want this comfort because it was a friend, and breaking up was hard. It was hard, but I let the Lord do the hard work on that one. But that was the hard part.
It's such a classic story of that connection. So for me, the family dinner table was always a great time, and I
Yeah,
really enjoyed it, and we enjoyed being together growing up. And so if I'm emotional eating, it's I'm trying to solve a problem.
yeah, definitely.
So how did you step out of solving the problem, finding the comfort and the safety in food, and finding it in God, who you've always known? It's not
Yep,
like he went anywhere,
that's right.
right?
That's right. Very carefully. What I did was, or very pain. It was painful, and I don't. I work with women all the time, and I don't sugarcoat it. It is hard to have something that has been your dear friend for comfort, for boredom, for anxiousness, for celebration.
Hmm.
Now, let's step back for just a second. It's great to have wonderful moments with food. God gave us food, he gave us taste buds, he gave us hunger. We should be eating food and enjoying it. But
Hmm.
what the step beyond that was using it for comfort, and typically hiding it, be having more than my share, having more when I'm alone, and seeking food rather than Jesus. So when I realized this is bad and it's only getting worse, and God, I'm willing to give it all up if you want it. What do you want from me, Lord? I'm at your mercy because I was. And I felt, he kind of led me to the food plan of 3 solid meals a day. It's the Food Addicts Food Plan, been around since
Right.
1960s. I love it. 3 really great meals a day. It keeps you satiated in between, keeps your blood sugar level, and it gave me time to work on the emotions and being willing to feel my feelings. I didn't like that. I don't like it. I don't like feeling my feelings. I didn't for a lot of years because something would start to bubble up. I'd feel emotional, sad, anxious, whatever it was, and I would push it back down with food. I did not want to deal with it. So
Mm.
when I started this process, I committed to the Lord, I will seek you. I will seek you over food. You're in the high place.
Oh my
So
goodness. So what did that actually look like? Did you have notes stuck on all your cabinets? Go to prayer.
yes, yes, and I did, and you know what I did? I spent a lot of time crying. I really did because I would find myself I tend to run a little bit anxious, just tends or have anxious
Right.
thoughts and or worry, okay, I didn't hear from my kids. Are they okay? Is this going on? Or, it could be anything and I could get anxious about it. And so I found myself rather than going through that drive-through, because my first thought would be, let's just go through that drive-through and solve this problem.
Yes,
And the
solving it.
Lord, and I asked the Lord, give me the desire to not have that compulsive bite. I don't want that first compulsive bite because I'm
Hmm.
only in control of the first bite. Beyond that, that bite's in control, and I'm out of whack. That's just how it's going to work.
Hmm.
So I would say, okay, Lord, And I would literally find myself just crying over things that I had never cried about before because I had been stuffing them for so long. And so I
Mhm.
really feel like it was probably a 20 to 30-day mourning period. I was
Mhm.
mourning not food because I was eating 3 deliciously abundant meals a day, but I
Mhm.
was mourning going to food for comfort. I was mourning and grieving the loss of my friend because food had become my friend. And I realized that really it's not a friend, but in the moment it felt like a friend. It really was an enemy that was tearing me apart and hurting me, but it still felt like this comfort. So letting go was very, very hard. It's not an easy process. It was a commitment I made and a surrender to the Lord that said, my willpower will never solve this for me. And Lord, your power will. So I'm going to let you do what you do best. And I'm going to sit with these awful, ugly feelings. And I learned that there's no feeling too big or too scary that is going to overtake me. I just have to feel it. And once you start feeling it, crying, whatever you need to do, you do get to the other side of it. We get to the other side of it. And
We
in that,
normally don't end up just sobbing all day long
no,
every day. If
no,
that's happening, then please seek some professional help because
agreed, agreed.
there's some more in there. How did your family support you?
Well, my I have a really amazing husband, and I right away he knows that I have this struggle with overeating and losing weight and dieting and all of that. He could see that over the years. That's just what I did. I didn't talk about it a lot, but you can see all of a sudden someone's only eating vegetables or they're only eating this or this food plan or gaining weight, losing weight. And he never said anything. He's very has huge unconditional love for me, regardless of my size. So and I'm so blessed by that. I do not that is not lost on me. But right away, he knew that I was very emotional. And it was real cute. One particular time, one of my kids said, why did she cry at the dinner table? Because I just started crying because I wasn't having the roles that everyone else was having or something. And he said, you know what, mommy's working through some things and her struggles with food. She has some struggles with food and she's working through it. And then I was able to share with the kids too, but I was so blessed that he could just speak that, because that's the fact. I couldn't lie to them. I can't say it's something else. It is mommy abused food. Mom was using food for my comfort when I should have been turning to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So I do take that also as in their future, maybe they'll have a food problem. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll have some other problem. But what
Mm-hmm.
they'll know is that their mom knew that there was a problem and she started turning to Jesus instead. So my goal and my hope is that that's what they will do, regardless of what they're struggling with. So I've been pretty open with them and sharing, and my husband's great. He's super, open and willing to talk me through my feelings, which is very helpful. Because when we're having those feelings and we think food is just going to solve it, I don't want to sit here and think about this. We can talk about it. We can work through it. And again, nothing is too big and too scary that we can't walk through.
What a gift. What a
Mhm.
gift. So, as a child, food became your friend
Yep.
when circumstances were truly out of your control.
Yes.
When we're little, we can't make those choices.
That's right.
Then it keeps happening. Food is your friend. Food is your friend. Now food is your captor. It's
That's
got
exactly right. Yep.
completely stuck.
Yep.
Then you're turning to God to move out of it. And
Yep.
you're in an abundance Western culture that sees sugar and white flour as a common everyday occurrence,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And here's the other thing. Unlike some other addictions, it's acceptable.
Totally
It's
acceptable.
acceptable for you to stop and have a donut. It's acceptable for you to go through Starbucks and get something that's, a
Yes.
thousand and
All
two
day long.
calories every
Anytime.
day, all day long. Very acceptable. And here's another question I have for you is I don't think people intend to do this. Some of them do, but there are food pushers in the sense that if you don't eat the pie that I home baked for you, then I will feel bad about me and I
Yep.
won't like me. And so you're doing me a service by eating the pie and maintaining the relationship. How
Yes.
did you handle those pieces?
So I have to say I feel pretty fortunate, and I don't know if it's just that I already have a strong personality or what, but I didn't experience too much of that. It was more like questions of, "Oh, do you really think you can avoid that forever? Do you
Mm,
really think this?" It wasn't so much as eat this, I need you to do that. But most people I work with have that experience that people, Aunt Sally brings her special pie, or there's this Christmas thing, or whatever it is. And you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make her feel bad. And so I learned early to advocate for myself. I feel
mm,
it's so important, whether it's food or I teach my kids. If someone says, "Here, look at my phone," don't just look at their phone. Pause, right? Think about it. If someone says, "Hey, try this," don't do that. Just start advocating for yourself. Like, speak up for yourself. You are worthy to speak up for. And so I teach I'm heavy on that with my kids. Advocate for yourself. I don't care what it is. If you feel this is what you need to do, whether it's as a Christian or just as a wise choice or not cheating on a test, whatever it is, you speak up and don't worry about the consequences. You have to do what's right. And so I started doing that. I had an experience. My mother-in-law made me the sweetest thing she thought was compliant. She knew I was eating a little bit differently without processed sugar, and she made me something she thought was compliant for a dessert at a Christmas dinner. It
mm-hmm.
was not totally compliant, and they were so excited to give it to me. And she's like, "I made you this special thing," and she's handing
Yes.
it to me, and everybody's looking, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And they're her and my father-in-law were waiting for me to just eat it. And I thought, so I said, and I pondered, how am I going to handle this? Because I don't want to offend somebody. I don't want to
And
hurt
she
somebody.
probably went to a lot of trouble if she did
Yes,
alternative flours and different sweeteners and
absolutely.
all those things. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm a people
Woo.
pleaser. Most addicts are, I believe, from that I've learned. Most
Yes.
addictive personalities are people pleasers. So I thought, okay, Lord, I said, Holy Spirit, let's go. What are we going to say? And I said, "I am so excited to try this." I said, "I'm stuffed. I am so stuffed from dinner." I wasn't overly stuffed, but I just said, "I'm stuffed from dinner. I so want to have this. Can I just wait a little bit? And maybe I'll even have it for breakfast." Because I thought it could be a, breakfast type thing. And she said, "Okay, okay." I mean, they wanted me to try a bite at
Sure.
least, but I
Absolutely.
had already closed out my food. So that would have been crossing my boundaries. And I've tried very hard not to cross my boundaries, because if I
Sure.
do, that is a gateway to, well, I've already done it. Let's keep eating.
It's
So I
one donut to 9 donuts,
That's
right?
it. That's it. I mean, even if it's quantities, even if I eat over quantities, then my brain starts saying, "Well, you already blew it today." Well, I
Mm.
have to shut my brain down when it does that, because no, grace upon grace, let's keep moving forward. But in that moment, so that's what I did. And I said, can I take it home with me? I'm so excited to have it. I'm going to have it later. I ended up the next day. It was, most of the ingredients were compliant. I had to pick out a few things from it. I was able to have I was able to measure it in a way that I felt comfortable. I had
Mhm.
a little bit, and then I sent her a picture and I said, "Thank you so much. That was so incredibly nice," and on and on. But it's hard to advocate for ourselves, especially if we are good little girls who don't, talk back,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But we have to, or we're going to get run over, we're going to be a doormat, or we're going to make poor decisions. Most of my regretful decisions in my life are because I didn't stand up and say no. So I'm, for the last, 15, 20 years, I'm just going to say no. I'm just going to advocate for myself. And my kids laugh at me because they're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, what are you going to tell us? Advocate for yourself." You bet, you do that. I don't care where
Yes.
you are. You are holy, you are worthy, you are loved, you are righteous through Christ. He wants us not to get run over, right? We need to be kind, we need to speak truth in love, but we do need to speak up for ourselves. And if there's something that we know is not right for us, it's okay to say no, even if the other person's offended. But that's hard.
Well,
That can be hard.
and what a great way to handle it. You were kind, you were loving, you also removed the pressure,
Yep.
put it at a time of day where you could make better decisions. I mean,
Mhm.
moving towards the late afternoon, those are the slumps. That's where we find the coffee, that's where we find the sugar, all those
Yep.
types of things. Put it at a better time that you could do that. And then we're super kind
Yep.
to take her a
Tried.
photo and send that on over.
Mhm.
How did you handle, at some point, you probably needed to say, I really appreciate it. I can't, because what if she made it over and over for you? At some point, did you put your hand on her shoulder and say, I really appreciate it? There were a few, I know you tried super hard to be compliant and it's crazy to do things for me. Did you at some point say, I can't handle that?
No, I didn't, because it was the way she had done it. It was in a way that I felt like I could eat it. I just had to pick up. I don't eat raisins. There was a few things I had to kind of, just modify for myself. But I thought, you know what? If it was happening on a regular basis, I would have to say something. But it wasn't, and so it was kind of a one-off time. So it worked out fine. But yes, that would have been harder. That would have been something
Yeah.
I have to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't love that. I don't love, in fact, I hate it. I hate conflict. And conflict is usually the thing that will drive me into the food.
Right, right. So bringing yourself back, you were beginning to say some things about, we talked a little bit beforehand about shame.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the enemy, you've got one donut in your hand, and the enemy's
Yep.
like, all right, you've already eaten one, so you might as well eat the other one. And then there's 12 more in the box. You might as well finish that whole 12.
Yes.
How did you handle the I am bad because I keep doing this?
Yeah.
What did Christ give you to step aside from that?
Oh, the best gift of grace, to the best gift of really learning, stepping into who my identity is. And he calls us loved, redeemed, worthy, treasured, more valuable than rubies. And if Christ calls me that, it has nothing to do with I'm loved if I didn't overeat. I'm loved if I'm a certain size. No, no, there is nothing beyond it. It is, I am loved and valued, period. End of story. So I had to step into, even in the midst of overeating or binging, he had the same intense, incredible, radical love for me that I needed to start realizing, okay, God, you're giving me grace upon grace upon grace. I need to extend that to myself. I had to start giving myself grace, because I would get off track and then think, oh, I'm already worthless. I'm already a mess. I'm already, down this
So
track.
6 more donuts are not going to matter.
No, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, if I can pause and I practice the pause, I have a saying I always say is stop, pray, walk away. Because in the midst of a bad decision, we just are kind of head first. But if we can take a breath and stop, pray, walk away, it gives us the opportunity to receive his grace. And his grace says, you're right. You already made some poor decisions. You're already head first celebrating this sinful nature. Because for me,
Mhm.
to dive head first in donuts is sin. There's no way around it. That's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but for me, if I go down that path, it's for the intention of overeating for comfort. And so he said, hey, I'm giving you grace. Give yourself grace. You messed up, you made a mistake, and turn back around. And that's the awesome thing about God, is he is never far. He's right beside us at all times. And it's not like we have to walk far to get him. We just have to turn the other direction. And so if I am turning to the donuts or whatever that thing is and saying, okay, this is where I'm getting my comfort, I just literally have to almost physically sometimes turn around and say, okay, Lord, thank you for your grace. Help me to stop this compulsive bite, well, or binge, whatever it has turned into. And I'm going to move in that direction. So he gave me the gift of grace and understanding who I am in him.
When you are doing this, so there's surrender on both sides, right? Shame says, just surrender, just eat the donuts, they'll
Yeah.
be gone, and you can start over.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
there's surrender to God, which you said 20 to 30 days of mourning. How long did you really mourn? I mean, you're showing up at a party and you have said before you got to the party, maybe you've had a light meal before you get to the party, whatever you have done to make sure that you are able to stick with this commitment you've made.
Mhm.
But your favorite thing is there.
Mhm. So I really think, first of all, there's about within 5 to 7 days, the physical detox completely takes place. So when we cut out processed sugar and flour being because as soon as it hits your system, it turns into glucose and your body
Mhm.
thinks you're having sugar. So when we cut those things out, we stop physically craving them within 5 days on average, physically. Now, emotional cravings can take a lifetime. They can take a
Sure.
lifetime. So that 30 days, you deal with a lot of emotional cravings. The physical part's done. You're just dealing with the emotional stuff, the emotional part. I'm sitting in a Mexican restaurant with my family and everyone's having chips and that was something I did and it would take my mind off things and then you have to deal with that and emotional craving because you don't necessarily physically craving that, but you're wanting that thing. So the 30 days was the hardest. Now, then beyond that, even 7 years later, I'm 7 years in. Now, I've not had a perfect journey. There has been times I've thought, oh, I can have this little piece of something. And then I find myself realizing, okay, gosh, why would I think that? Pulling in the grace and getting back on track. And that's the beauty of the Lord, right? We don't have to beat ourselves up. We can just keep moving in the right direction. But I found that even now, if something calls my name, if you will, a certain thing I see, a certain smell, a
Absolutely.
certain rarity, my brain may say, oh, goodness, that looks good. I would really love that. But the further you get from it, the quieter the ask, the quieter the food noise, if you will. But that's where I use my saying, stop, pray, and walk away. Because if I stand looking at a pastry or item or thing too long,
Hmm.
my brain's going to be thinking about it, fantasizing about it. My mouth might even start salivating, right? So it's removing myself. So I physically stop, pray, Lord, get me out of this, help me, Holy Spirit, come, and then walk away, just physically moving to a different location, taking some deep breaths, maybe reaching out to a friend and saying, hey, there's this thing here and it's, really looks good. And my brain told me I should have some. I'm not going to, but I just wanted to reach out to you. Then I'm having someone hold me accountable. And that kind of, and that's the tools of surrender. I have 10 tools of surrender that I've just kind of learned the Lord has given me. And I teach is that we've got to have tools in place because you will, and I will be
Hmm.
faced with temptation, challenges, true desires for things, food
Hmm.
pushers, all those things. So we have to have some tools in place to just get a little space to do the next right thing. And for me, the next right thing is never eating a compulsive bite. That's for me is going to be the next right thing is not doing that. So I'll do whatever it takes to get out of that.
So you walked into it, your 10 food rules. Tell us more about how you help. I believe it's only women. Do you only work with women or do you?
I have had several men that I've worked with. I don't work with men one on one for obvious reasons. I just don't think that's smart for me. And I don't have a male to lead a male group.
Hmm.
So I do have a self paced course that a lot of men have gone through and have been very successful. And I do hope one day I have enough and I have a man leader that can, lead a group of men and have support for men. But so I support women in terms of small groups and things like that.
Wonderful. So these are female only, small groups.
Yep.
Give us the roundabout about how that looks, where we can find you, what you are offering right now.
So I Life Unbinged is my name that I came up with 6.5 years ago. The Lord said, write a blog. And I was like, what do I name it? And I thought just it sounded right and I felt good about it. So Life Unbinged. And that is on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all the channels. But I have a 7-day challenge because a lot of people worry about what do I do? What do I eat? How do I do this?
Mhm.
And it's a video course and it's a meal plan and it's the food plan. And that is right online at lifeunbinged.com. I also have a book that outlines all of it, including the 10 tools of surrender, the food plan, all the tangible aspects of living sugar and flour free in a sugar obsessed world. And that's on
Not
my
true.
website as well. And that book, Life Unbinged, is right on Amazon also. So if you search Life Unbinged, find it.
and we'll have those links below. What is one thing that somebody who I'm assuming like most people, you stopped and you started and you stopped and you started and you had to get a game plan together. What is
Yep.
one thing that a person listening today could do that they could pat themselves on the back for, that they could say, I with the 12 steps, I can do this for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, one day at a
Yep.
time, I will
Yep.
plan again. So what is one thing they could do?
Yes, I love that because it is one day at a time. The Bible says that. It's truth. We all know that. It's great. I, rather than say, cut out this or cut out that, I think today, if you could serve yourself 16 ounces of vegetables, that would be awesome. Divide it between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So just make yourself 3 meals in the day and have, 8 ounces of veggies with lunch and 8 ounces with dinner. Just start with that because that's good for you. It starts to fill our tummy. It gets us satiated. I think that that's a really simple thing we can do to start, and season them well. Don't try and
Yes.
eat just raw, boiled vegetables. Season them, roast them, make them good because we should enjoy food.
Pick the thing that you like. And 8 ounces is, if I'm thinking about this right, it's a cup of peas. I like peas.
Yeah, it's not that much.
Peas.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
roasted cauliflower. It's about a cup of that. And
Yes.
then
Yep.
what? 2 cups of, you'd have to eat quite a bit of
Lettuce.
salad.
If it's lettuce, it's probably about 2 cups of, lettuce, and then put some denser carrots or cucumbers or tomatoes on it. It's
Right.
really not that much, but that's just a good way to start, just doing nice things for your body. And then your brain starts to recognize, okay, we're treating ourselves well. And don't even, yes, of course, I could say, let's cut out the processed sugar, but sometimes we have to just start right here, right now with some basic things of what can we start doing for ourselves rather than eliminating.
So I already forgot 16 ounces of vegetables.
Yes.
16 ounces of vegetables. Maybe even pick the one that you like the best.
Definitely.
And do that. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. And stop, pray, walk away. I knew I was going to get it. Stop, pray, walk away. I really appreciate you, Kristy, thinking about all the emotional stuff. Now, what we haven't had time to touch on is, as you do this, I'm assuming food's going to bring up more emotions.
Yes.
So with your coaching program, they can walk into a small group, get support, read your book, all those wonderful things.
Yeah.
And give us your website one more time.
So it's www.lifeunbinged.com. So it's LIFEUNBINGED. So Life Unbinged.
And you are, if you're not watching this on video, Kristy is a picture of health. She is living proof that you can drop that 100 pounds. You can drop the 30 pounds, the 50, whatever it is that is holding you back from doing what you really want to do. But the biggest thing is turning to Christ and letting go of that shame, because there is only one place for safety.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. And I work with a lot of women who don't even have a weight problem, but food is a problem for them, or sugar is a problem because just of our society. And they just want to get that quiet. And so we can do that also. So you can come for big numbers, little numbers, whatever it is, and just surrendering that to the Lord and getting food in its rightful place is so
Thank you for saying that, because you can be very thin and still be on that roller coaster and beating yourself up. And very unhealthy. I mean, you can be the right size according to the media and still be extremely unhealthy. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for being here and for sharing all of this. And I encourage everyone to stop over and see her. I can see how compassionate you would be and empathetic in working with women who are like, I don't know why I do this.
Yep. Yep. I get it. And I've been there. So it makes it all the easier because I fully understand the struggle.
Well, thank you again.
I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Faith Over Addiction podcast. Remember, nothing changes until something changes. Today is your day to step out in faith and make a difference. You are a daughter of the King. a woman who can spark incredible ripple effects of hope and healing, not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, and God's kingdom. If this episode encouraged you, bless someone else by sharing it. Send it to a friend who needs a little hope, or post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you. And hey, if you're ready to reclaim your God-given identity and create a safe, loving space for yourself and those you care about, let's talk. Book a quick call with me today, and I'd love to hear your story and help you take the next step. Oh, and don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts, search for Faith Over Addiction, and leave me a review. Your feedback not only makes my day, but helps other women find this podcast and step into freedom too. You are strong, you are loved, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Until next time, keep walking boldly into the life God has for you.